Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. This is MS Collections. Thank you for stopping by. In today's tutorial, I'll be learning how to make this bustier dress with asymmetric curves and neckline. And this is an inbuilt corset. Okay, I made this as an inbuilt corset. This style has been trending online, and it could be a skirt and blouse, but this dress you're seeing here was made as a gown. Okay, so if this is something you're interested in, kindly stay true to the end of the video. Do not forget to subscribe if you haven't. Give me a thumbs up, share the video, and turn on your notification bell so you get notified when I drop new videos, because I always drop amazing content. Now this is the part 1 of this video that captures the pattern drafting and cutting. Okay, so over to the drafting. I have my pattern paper, and for this pattern draft, we are not going to be, the usual folding our pattern into two. We are going to be drafting the full front piece as it is without it being folded into two. So you can see, first of all, I have that middle line marked on my pattern paper to be able to guide me to be able to guide me on the center of the blouse. So what I'm going ahead to do is to I've marked 1/2 inch for the shoulder line. I'm going ahead to mark my shoulders and my neckline, okay, the shoulder slant. So that is what you can see me do in the video. I really recommend that you watch very closely, because I'll be leaving some of the clips for us to watch and understand. So next up, I'm going ahead to mark my armhole, and this is me creating my armhole. If you don't know how to create your armhole, just divide your bust measurement by 6, add 1.5 inch, and it will give you your armhole length. So whatever you do on one side, be sure to do on the other side. And after I'm done marking the line, as you can see, I got the middle of the line, and then I'm going up by 1/2 inch to enable me create my armhole curve. And of course, I'm just going ahead to draw the line across to enable me create my armhole curve. Okay, next up, I'm going ahead to mark other lines. Please take note that that armhole line is considered the chest line. The next line I'm going ahead to mark is my bust point. I'm going ahead to mark my half cut or my under bust length, and I'm going ahead to mark my waist length, as you can see, and the last line will serve as my hip line. Okay, so all these measurements are taken on the client's body to know their positions, and then I've gone ahead to label my chest line, or my chest, yes, my chest length or chest line, my bust point, my half cut, my waist, and my hip. Okay, so from the bust point, take your nipple to nipple measurement, which is for this client I'm using 4 inches. Then at the half cut, just take the line all the way down to the end of the pattern, or to the end of your hip measurement, and go ahead and draw the line across. Remember, I said we are marking this as the blouse in full. We are not going to be folding into two because of the asymmetric design on the blouse. Next off, go take out some inches on both sides of the nipple to nipple line to create out your bust. You can take out 1 inch on both sides, but for me, I decided to make my allowance uneven. So I took out 1.5 inch on the sides. That's the side that is going to carry the bustier curve. I took out 1.5 inch. Then for the center piece, I took out 1 inch. Okay, so that's making a total of 2.5 inches. That's the total I took out to create my bust, but you can decide to take out less as the case may be. So I'm going ahead to use my curve ruler to connect this line to the bust point. Just follow carefully what I'm doing. The video is quite self-explanatory. Okay, so at this point I wasn't satisfied with my curve and I just decided to adjust a little bit, and then I'm going ahead to connect this line to my hip line, as you can see me so. Now if you notice, I did not take that bust curve on the other side because this is a curve I'm going to be making. I need the bust area to be the same. Okay, so watch to the end of the video to see how I created the bust on the other side. Okay, so as you watch you would learn. I'm going ahead to, on the armhole length, I went ahead to connect it to this bust point, and I came down by 1.5 inches on the armhole length, also to connect to the other side of the bust. That 1.5 inch I took out at the armhole length is necessary to avoid gaping. Okay, so this is it, guys. Next up, I'm going ahead to impute my measurements plus my sewing allowance. You can decide to use 2 inches sewing allowance, but ensure that you are replacing the darts necessary. Now remember, I told us that this is an inbuilt corset dress that I made, and I needed to snatch 4 inches away from this dress. So what I did for the waist part was, remember I lost 2.5 inches at the waist. Now I was supposed to impute my waist measurement, replace that 2.5 inches plus my sewing allowance, but because I needed to lose 4 inches, I just replaced 1.5 inch. So I shortened the allowance by 1 inch. So when 1 inch is missing from my dress, it automatically means that I've been able to snatch 4 inches. Of course, you know that the dress is in 4 parts. You have 2 for the center part, 2 for the back piece. So 1 times 4 makes it 4. So next up, as you can see me do, I'm going ahead to create the asymmetric curve for the other side. As you can see on the dress earlier, the curve on the left side of the dress is longer than the curve on the right side. So I just extended my line by 4 inches, and then I'm going ahead to take out 1 inch. I took out 1 inch on both sides actually to enable better tightening, and I connected to the end of the dress. Now that curve I had by the side was just, I went up by 1.5 inch and I went ahead to connect to the end of the dress, as you can see me do. And I had that little correction there because I forgot to begin the curve after my allowance. So it's very important you begin the curve after your allowance. And then I went ahead to connect that line to the waistline. Okay, so I have this snatch. Now I need to say something here, guys. When you're drafting your pattern, be sure to replace this particular allowance you lost here, because somewhere in the video I forgot to replace it. While making the video though, I forgot to replace it, but I later replaced it off camera. So please do not forget to replace the allowance you're going to be using for your asymmetric curve. Now you can see what I'm doing. I'm going ahead to mark the shape on the other side, and then I'm just trying to create the curve for the other side, as you can see. Do not forget, from the hip I went up by 1.5 inch to get that curve by the side, and then I'm going ahead to extend my allowance. I'm coming out of my allowance to create my curve. So the flay or that little asymmetric curve on the right stopped at the hip, and then the asymmetric curve on the left extended after the hip. So go ahead and create your curve. You can use freehand, you can use your pattern ruler, depending on which gives you a better result. Like I said earlier, please, this allowance that was taken for the asymmetric design, the allowance I'm going ahead to strike out, do not forget to replace on your pattern, bearing in mind that I've already snatched out 1 inch. Okay guys, so this is it. We are almost done with this pattern draft. Next up is to work on the neck. I came down just 1/2 inch above my chest line. You can decide to do less, okay, or do more depending on what you want, but 1/2 inch above my chest length was 7 inches, and 7 inches is just fine for me. So that's why I came down by that. And then the wideness of the neckline, I used 3 inches. Initially I used 2.5 inch, but you will see later in the video that I corrected it. I decided to make it 3 inches, to give me what I wanted. And so you can see me connecting from the other side of the neck to that 7 inches to give my asymmetric neckline. Of course, you can, mine is a bit slanted and I was fine with that. If you don't want yours slanted, go ahead and do or mark or draft as it pleases you, okay? So this is me correcting from 2.5 inch on the left side. I made it 3 inches, but I maintained 2.5 inch on the other side. Okay, so we are done with the neckline. And the next thing will be to cut out our pattern. Now remember guys, we did not take the bustier shape out on the other one, okay? So this is me showing you how to go about that. Very simple, just watch carefully. And you have that other side of the dress extended at that hip side, because remember I told us I replaced the allowance off camera, so that was the replaced allowance. You can see how I'm cutting this bustier side. This will ensure that I have the same curve for my bustier You do not want to have irregular shapes on both sides. It can be very stressful, trust me. So that was the method I used in cutting. For the center piece as well, I need it to be equal, so I just at this point folded it into two, and I went ahead to cut to have it uniform on both sides. Now this is what we have, guys. Our pattern draft for the front is ready as we want it. Now please do not forget to notch the waistline and the hip line on both patterns, so that when you are joining them, you will have them aligning in the position you want it to align. If you do not notch this point, it can be a little bit stressful and confusing. Now for my shorter asymmetric curve, I felt I needed it to curve a little bit more, so I went ahead to curve it in a little bit, but of course this is based on designer's choice. So over to my back piece. Remember I told us I made this as a gown, a corset gown. So if you want to make yours as a blouse, all you need to do is to fold your pattern into two and cut out the longest part plus your zipper allowance. Okay, do not forget to add your zipper allowance, and then you go ahead and cut out this side piece, folding the bust inside or inwards so that you can have your back piece without the bust. But for me, since it was a gown, I did not cut out the center part because I was going to insert loops on both sides of the dress. So the dress, I just cut out the side pieces, and then I had a modesty panel to replace that center part of my dress. So you can see I just cut out this part of the dress, and I went ahead to cut the exact front. Please do not forget to take your bust inward, to fold your bust inward so you have it without the bust. And you can just see how I folded the top because I needed the edge to be straight. Now this back piece is going to be having an attachment up. The shoulder will be attached up. Just watch carefully to see how I came about that. Now you can see what I did here, guys. This is me replacing this part of the dress, the armhole of the dress, to enable me effectively cut out the neckline and the shoulder piece for the back of our dress. Okay, so having marked out the top of the back piece, I'm going ahead to mark out the keyhole neckline for the back. And for the depth of the back piece neckline, I used 5 inches. And then I came down by 2 inches to create the keyhole neckline for the back, or the keyhole curve for the back. You can decide to use whatever measurement you want. Okay, so at this point I decided to deepen the neck a little, so totally that was me using about 5 3/4 inches, and this piece is ready. So you can see the way it aligns to our back, and we are good to go. The next stuff, I'm going to mark the skirt. This is the skirt I folded into 2 already. Now I went ahead to begin this mark from the waist. Okay, so when you're marking the skirt line, be sure to begin from the waist. So that's why you can see me placing my tape as such. plus the skirt length. I added 2 inches for the allowance of the skirt length, and then after I marked the waist, I went up by 1 inch, okay, because of the way I'll be sewing the dress. That 1 inch allowance was necessary for me to attach the skirt and make it a gown. Remember, I said this is a gown. From the waist length, I went ahead to mark the hip length, the knee length, and the skirt length as we have it. So now I'm going ahead to impute my measurements plus allowance. I used 1.5 inch allowance all the way through. And do not forget that for the waist, I used the snatched waist. The client's waist is 32 inches, but I snatched 4 inches, bringing the waist down to 28 inches. So it is the 28 inches that becomes my waist, the waist for the dress. So that was what I marked. Please do not mark your actual waist. The skirt will become too big when you're done snatching. And go ahead and cut as so. And the next up, you're done with our front piece. Next up is the back. Now I've placed the front in the back, and watch what I'm doing. I'm going ahead to fold. I folded 3.5 inch because the corset loops will be coming all the way down to the hip. Okay, yes, so that 3.5 inch I folded was because I was going to cut out the center. Remember, I said the modesty panel will cover up for that. And what I'm marking right now is the slit length. I came from the skirt length, I came up by 19 inches for my slit length, and then from the waist I marked my hip line. And just watch what I will do in the video, but for now I'm going ahead to create my slit. The slit is as desired, okay? Create your slit however you want it to, but I'm using a slant overlap slit. And then of course I've worked on my slit. Over right now is my hip length. I'm working on my hip line rather, so you can see I've marked it and I'm cutting that place off. Okay, yes, I'm cutting it off because the loops will be coming all the way down to that point, and the modesty panel will cover that center. Go ahead and cut your skirt all the way through. Okay, so we are done with that. Next up is to give my butt allocation. Just create that butt allocation line all the way to my slit line. Go ahead and cut out your slit, and we are good to go. So guys, if you've come this far, it means you like what you watch. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't. Give me a thumbs up if you like the video, and do not forget to share, turn on the notification bell so you get notified when I drop new videos. Okay, so as you can see, I cut the pattern exactly. The only allowance I added was for the length, okay, because I'm going to be turning with lining. So yes, we can work with that. A lot of people get confused when it comes to adding of allowance, and personally, I think there's no hard and fast rule about it. If you're cutting your pattern with all the allowance you need, then you don't have to add any allowance when you're cutting your fabric. But if not, then you just it's just a matter of calculation, simple calculation. So you can see this back piece. I've gone ahead to attach my corset loops. Okay, remember I told us that this style usually came with as a skirt and blouse, but I'll be making mine as a gown. So I already attached my corset loops to my gown. Now this is the neck part for the back piece. I did not turn the neck, okay, or this is the shoulder part rather. I didn't turn the neck. I only turned the keyhole neckline. Okay, as you can see, you can just take that back and look at it. This is the skirt. I've gone ahead to turn it with my lining. as you know how to. Okay, just shorten your lining by whatever measurement allowance you left. Just go ahead and shorten your lining and turn your skirt. This is the back piece. You can see, look at what we have there. All this was explained in the pattern drafting. Please do well to check it out. Okay, so I have my bra cups next. I've gone ahead to hold that on my bra cups. Okay, yes, so we'll be using bra cups for this tutorial. Stay tuned and you see how I'll go about it. So next up, I want to join my front piece. Take note that I've notched the places that this will join. That's for the side piece. Remember that for the other side, that is the right side, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, that's if you're looking at the video. For the right side, they are not equal. Okay, so you have to notch where they begin so that you begin sewing from there. And take note that whatever you do on your fabric is what you do on your lining. Yes, I was showing us also. I've gone ahead to join it. Do not forget that I use breast pad on my fabric and I use soft gum stay on my lining. Do not also forget, when you're cutting your lining, when you're putting the soft gum stay, please be careful to note the good and the bad side. Yes, because this shape is not equal, it's asymmetric, so it's not equal on all sides. Be sure that you have the good side of your lining facing the good side of your fabric so you don't stress out. Okay, yes, and do not also forget, after you've joined, iron your allowances open. I did that. You can see what I'm talking about. That's for the bustier joinings. Notch and then iron allowances open. Okay, so I've gone ahead. The next thing I did was to join all pieces together. So I've shaped my dress at this point. I joined the back piece of my fabric to the front piece of my lining and I shaped it. If you're confused, remember that our back is not complete, so use the front to shape everything. I've done the same thing for my lining and I went ahead to put my bonings. Yes, what is corset without boning? So this is invisible boning. Okay, and just go ahead and put it, bearing in mind the location that the dress is going to face. So if you've been following my channel, you know how I put these bonings. But if you do not know how I insert bonings like this, I'll drop a link in the description box on how to give your dress a better fit. It's the same method I use in putting this boning. Next up, I've put my bra cups on my dress, and as you can see, ensure that it's placed in the middle and then it's at least 1.5 inch away from your seam allowance. I pinned it in the position I wanted and then I'll go ahead and stitch it, but in the placing, please ensure that it's 1.5 inch or at least 2 or at most 2 inches away from your seam, from your joining. Okay, that's from your seam allowance, and then go ahead and place and join. And when we are done, this is what we have. Okay, our bustier is solid and the client can use this dress without a bra. Okay, so now take note that I have not concealed any. I only concealed the edges. Okay, I've torn the lining with the fabric, and trust me guys, this needs a lot of patience. You need to work with your pins a lot, okay, to ensure that everything is stable, because you have boning and bra cups inserted, so you may experience a little bit of twisting, but not to worry. If you can pin properly, you can see those pins scattered around in the dress. Pin properly, use your hemming gum to stabilize the dress and iron, you would get this result. Okay, so I only turned the down of the fabric, and take note that when you're done cutting your lining, shorten your lining. Okay, the same way you turn your dresses, you shorten your lining so it doesn't pop out. Ensure you shorten your lining before you turn the dress, and this is what you're going to have. In any way it's going to stress you, go ahead to use your pins and your hemming gum to stabilize the dress. So I have all sides open, the sides are open, the top is also open, and it's for a purpose. You'd see what I would achieve with that as the video continues. If you've watched up to this point and you've not subscribed to my channel, what are you waiting for? Kindly hit the subscribe button, give me a big thumbs up, share the video if you are learning from it. Okay, so this is my skirt piece, I've also gone ahead to shape it, and what I'm doing right now is to locate the middle. Take note that for my skirt piece, I concealed the top of the skirt, like I concealed everywhere, and I just brought it out from the sides, okay, and then just give it a nice hem. So what I'm doing is I want to place my skirt piece on my lining. Remember, this dress does not have any joining in front, so we have to be very accurate about this. We are attaching the skirt piece on the lining, okay? So there you have it. That's why we did not join the lining piece. We didn't join it completely to the dress. The skirt part is going to be attached on the lining as so. And remember, when we're doing in the cutting video, we added allowance to the top of our skirt so that it's going to be a bit longer. So this is the reason why, because it's going to like sit above that asymmetric curve we have there. So it's just a matter of calculation. One thing with tailoring is you have to do with a lot of calculations. Just take your time to calculate what you need to do and go ahead and do it. So we are just pinning this to the sides. You can see I did not extend the skirt to the end of the lining because the lining is not yet torn, but the skirt is hemmed. So we need space to hem the dress. When we are done, just go ahead and sew it, and that is how we achieve this, okay? And then you can see when we are done, this is the look we'll be having, okay? We'll have it as a gown, okay? So in case you want to make yours a skirt and blouse, go ahead and make your dress separate. You can still glean from this video and then put one or two together and you are good to go. So this is what we have. It has been joined, as you can see, and our gown is like set. So you can see the top part just sitting on the dress, on the skirt of the dress, and it's in one piece, okay? And obviously our loops are in place. Now it's time to conceal our loops. This is how we'll be going about it. As I've shown you, you just go ahead and top stitch it, and we have our loops in place. So at this point, what you have to do is to attach the shoulder line for the back. But please, before you do this, ensure you add boning at that loop side. All you just have to do is to stitch this. This is going to be an outside stitch. Stitch that loop area by the size of your boning. If you're using a 1/2 inch boning, stitch 1/2 inch outside and go ahead and insert your boning before you close up this shoulder line. So I'm just showing you how to go about that. You can see that in the video. Just in case you didn't catch that, feel free to take it back and watch again. Then for the front part, look at how I did it. Now for this front shoulder line, I did not join them together. I joined the fabric to the fabric separately, the lining to the to the lining separately. So if you are looking very carefully, you see that the lining part is concealed, well concealed inside. But for the front, we have that joining part facing out, like we have the rough edge facing out. It's intentional. Just go ahead and watch and see what we'll achieve with that. So the aim is not to conceal the neckline, so we'll be able to insert the black crepe at the neckline. So next up, what I'm going ahead to do is to measure the neck round, okay? Now just in case you watch the pattern draft, you'll notice that we did not separate the front neckline, but when I was cutting the dress, the fabric, I had to separate the front neckline to enable the black material pass across, okay? And of course we want neat finishing, so it would be neater that way. So I've gone ahead to measure for both sides, and right now, after you've measured for both sides, please come ahead to measure from the center to the back, from the center to the front. Just get the center points, because the lengths are not equal. And of course, when you're cutting your back fabric, you have to replicate that. Now this is my shiny bias, and I'm just going ahead to show you how you put it at this point. Just ensure that when you're putting it, the edges are concealed, okay? Yeah, for the shiny bias, I used a 3/4 inch shiny bias. Now this is my crepe, okay? The crepe fabric, it's a little bit stretchy, and as you can see the way I folded it, it's like a bias form or a triangular form. I didn't fold it straight because we need to get the stretchy edge. Okay, so we have our collar line perfectly in shape. So I'm just going ahead to fold it. You can see how I folded it. I made sure that the starting point was a little bit small. Okay, I'd already cut this crepe, so that's why you have it like that. But after you fold it, you can give it the measurement you want. This is the center part. Now for that longer side of my neckline, the front to the shoulder was 17 inches, and then the shoulder to the back was 7 inches. Remember I told you it's asymmetric, is not equal, so you have to put that into consideration. So I went ahead to do that and fold accordingly. So I wanted my neckline at that point to, when I'm done, to be around 4 inches. So I gave allowance to added allowance to that 4 inches. And then for the beginning part, I think I needed it to be at 2 inches. So I also just put the allowance to that point, and I just went ahead to cut. Okay, remember I said it's all about your calculations and what you want. So for the back piece now, this was a little tacty, but we came through. What I did at this point was to place the neckline of the back, because the back looks like a collar. Okay, so I placed this neckline to get the shape of the neckline at the back, and then that was what I used to shape the back. I just went ahead to make a little bit of adjustments in the size and in the curves, and then I continued with that 4 inches. I just blended it in, and then towards the end I made it smaller. I wanted it to end at 2 inches, so I also added my allowance, added half-inch allowance, and that made it like about 2.5. Any other thing you see me doing is just me making a little bit of adjustment to ensure that my dress or my collar aligns as I need it, and go ahead and cut. Okay, so just watch carefully and follow what I'm doing, and you won't be left behind. Just in case you have come up to this point, it means you like what you're watching. Do well to give me a thumbs up. Do not forget to share this video. If you have any questions, feel free to drop in the comment section, and I'll attend to it. And if you haven't subscribed, this is me wondering what you're waiting for. Please do well to subscribe, and I'll be so super glad that you did. Okay, so go ahead and cut. Please do not forget to add your allowance where necessary, and go ahead and cut your fabric. We are done with the longer side of the neckline. Then I'll be folding again to cut the other side of the neckline. So basically I'm just trying to study the shapes, okay, the shapes of the collar to work with. So you may also do as well, just study the shape of the collar, decide what you want, and then go ahead and try it out. Of course, that's why there are pattern papers, just in case you do not want to mess up the fabric. Go ahead to whatever you want to do, whatever shape you desire, try it out on your pattern paper first before you can now replicate on the fabric. I thought to just go ahead and use my fabric because I kind of know what I wanted. Okay, so for the back piece, this is me going ahead to get the center line. I just measured. Remember I said I'd measured front to shoulder, back to shoulder, and I went ahead to place it. And so I wanted the back to just be the same size. Of course the front wasn't the same size, so but the back I needed it to be the same size. So I just brought in the front piece. From that middle point, I tried to get the size on my fold, and when I got the size on my fold, from that point you can see I now went ahead to get the shape for my front. Just watch carefully and follow what I'm doing, and you won't miss out. At this point, all I'm doing is to use my cloth gum to iron on the fabric. Now when your fabric is stretchy, please do well to use a cloth gum. Is the best gum to use for stretchy fabrics. And just in case you're not used to it, as the cloth gum is also known as hairstay, some call it suit gum, but it's basically your hairstay. Okay, so it's the best, like I said, for stretchy fabrics. At this point we are done. We've hemmed the collar, we've ironed it, and this is what we have. So it's time to attach it to our dress. You can see it's fitting exactly. So the method, of course, is simple. Just go ahead and attach to your fabric alone, and then when I'm done, I'll show you how I came about stop stitching it to seal up the neckline. So you can see why we needed that allowance for the front piece to be outside. We needed it to be outside so that we can join it to the neckline, to our black crepe, and then when we are done, can comfortably top stitch as so. Look at that method of top stitching. I'll go ahead to give us more details on how we did that, but you can see just folding your lining, folding the joining for the fabric, and sewing underneath the collar. So you can see I've gone ahead to join both sides. Even for the other side of the neckline, I just joined the top. I didn't join the lining. I didn't hold the lining when I was joining. I just joined to the fabric. Okay, so having done that, I went ahead to use my lining to iron it carefully, to fold the edges. You can see as I'm doing that, my collar is open, because when I'm done, I'll be top stitching on it, and then the stitch will appear underneath the collar. It's not going to show outside, it's just going to hide underneath the collar, and we have a perfect finish for that point. Okay, we are done with that. Just go ahead and do that, and look at what we have when we are done. You can see there is no stitch appearing. What I'm going ahead to do, or what I'm doing at this point, is to place our beads. Okay, so these beads do not have a hole where you can insert and sew. They are beads like that. So two ways to go about it. You can either use the beading machine. There's a beading machine that attaches it to the dress. Okay, so you can either take the collar to people that do that, or if you have the machine, go ahead and put the beads on your collar before inserting the collar. That is, if you want to use the machine to insert the beads, please do that before inserting your collar. But if you're using the gum, then you can do my method. When I'm done with the collar, I use the gum with the candle gum inside. I use my gun gum, or I use my gun to hit the candle gum, and then I'm just going ahead to put underneath and place at. So okay, you have to be very careful so you have this, and you have a neat finish. If this doesn't work for you, you can also go ahead to use your B6000 gum or your UHU gum or any other gum you have available to do this. Okay, like I said, just be careful so you have a neat finish. You can see in the process I had a little bit of the candle sticking out, but when I was done, I just cleaned it up and our dress was good to go. So you can see this, guys. This is the back that was the back view, rather. So I made my ropes off camera. You can do that. And then when I was done, you can see I've joined the shoulder. I've fixed my sleeve, and of course our dress is ready. This video, I believe, captured most of the process making for this dress, and I really hope you learned from it. So our dress is ready, our bossier dress is ready, and trust me, it was so fitting on the client. Okay, so just go ahead and take a look, the sleeves, the back view, and do not forget, please, I inserted a zipper on the skirt. Okay, at first I didn't want to insert a zipper, but it couldn't pass through, so I needed to insert a very short zipper on the skirt to enable the dress pass through, and our dress is good to go. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, do not forget to recommend and subscribe. I'll see you in my next tutorial. Bye.